Hey, I'm Curly and I have a bit of a problem. I have this deck here and it is for Kyoka, who I've been building since her support came out in set 2. However, to sort of match her like hot girl aesthetic, I was hoping to use these Misaki sleeves from Vanguard 0. However, if you were to take a closer look at these sleeves, even in the packaging, you can see that this is bent. These sleeves are unfortunately super ultra bent here. And the problem is that I actually put some cards in these sleeves, thinking that maybe that'll straighten it out, and I actually started bending some of my cards. And this seems to be like something with some certain wave of Bushiroad sleeves, because I have several sleeves that have this sort of insane curvature, some not as bad as others, but some of them kind of match up here to what we've got. But this is definitely the worst offender so far. So I took to Twitter to ask and see if there were like any sort of ways to unbend these sleeves. And I got a couple of interesting options and I figured, hey, why not try them all and see which one actually works? So the way that this is going to work is that we have these sleeves here, and I have several different ways of flattening them, unbending them, however you want to call it. I'm going to try out each and every one of these and see at the end of the day which one of these is the best method. Well, maybe not at the end of today, because a lot of these methods require a couple of days, so we'll check back a bit in the future. But first, let's run down all the methods that I have here. So first we have here just our control, essentially, which is just going to be the sleeves by themselves with nothing. Here's the top section of it, so you can see how bent they are. So first, a lot of these suggestions included using oversleeves. So I have a couple of them here to give us a good amount of variety. Starting off with the Japanese size Dragon Shield here. Not my favorite oversleeve at the moment. And I think I actually have a video coming out soon about just card game accessories. So that's one. Then next, our next contender here is going to be the Broccoli Emboss and Clear sleeves. And then I have the final one, which I don't have like the packaging of, but you'll see it here, which are the Yaomen Jr. Z, or Yaomen Z Jr. sleeves, one of those two, also referred to as the shards of glass in your bag. So with this, I have a couple of variations. So I have here the Dragon Shield sleeves. Here is the top section, so you can see how currently bent these are. And the sleeves we're trying to unbend, the Misaki sleeves. And then I also have here the Broccoli sleeves. Here's the top section, so you can see how these are bent so far. And then finally here we have the Yaomen Jr. sleeves. Here's your top cross section, so you can see how these are bent so far with nothing inside. But then we have some variations here with the cards inside. So this is again the Dragon Shield version. Here's your top cross section, so you can see how that looks so far. Here's the Broccoli version. Here's a look from above, so you can see how that's shaping up so far. And then finally, the Yaomen Jr. version. Here's a look from the top, so you can see how that's shaping up so far. Each with a card inside right now. And finally, our last for this specific batch is going to be just a card inside, no oversleeve. Here's your top cross section, so you can see how that looks so far. So these are all the variations that I have in terms of sleeving and all that kind of jazz. But these will fall under group 1, because there's two different ways, right? One section said to just do this, and that'll fix it. There's another section that essentially said, do this, but then also squish it with some sort of heavy weight. So we're going to do both of these and see which one's the best. So for our next group, we have the same ordeal here. We have a pair that does not have any card or oversleeve. We have the Dragon Shield with no card. We have the Broccoli here with no card, and the Yaomen Jr. with no card inside, followed up by the just a card inside, followed up with the Dragon Shield with a card inside, followed up with the Broccoli with a card inside, and finally the Yaomen Jr. with a card inside. For this specific group, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take them, and we're going to squish them under a heavy book and leave them there for a couple of days. Whereas like this group will be unsquished and will just remain as they are in a specific location, and we'll see which one of the two groups is the best and which one of them within those groups is also victorious. But then we have this last couple of trio here. These last three, I'm doing all of these in 3 just so we have, you know, a good sample size. But the last one I have here is, we're going to do something a little special with this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these giant Berserk volumes here, and since they're quite hefty and pretty long, we're going to go ahead and grab each 3 of these books, and we're going to go over here underneath my computer table here, and as you'll see, I've laid out each of the cards flat. I'm going to put the books on top, but in addition, put some weights on top of them to weigh them down even more, and we're going to leave them there for a couple of days. Likewise, for the ones that we're not squishing, we're actually just going to go ahead and take them and put them in this deck box over here. I'm going to include these little packets here, which are going to draw out the moisture. You usually see them in like shoe boxes and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and just put the cards here within the divider, slot them into the deck box, and then go ahead and close them up. And we'll check back on them in about 3 or 4 days. Then for those last 3 cards, we're actually going to need this ironing board and this very hot iron. Because that's right, we're actually going to end up ironing these 3 cards over here and seeing if that actually flattens out the sleeves. Of course, if I were to put the iron straight on the sleeves, it would just melt them. So we're going to actually go ahead and take this towel here, take our 3 cards, and we're just going to fit them in between the folded up towel here and then iron over the towel. The thought process being that it'll distribute the heat enough where it doesn't actually melt the plastic, but it is actually still able to use the weight and the, flatness of the iron to, well, iron out the cards and take out those creases, curves, etc, etc. So let's go ahead and give it a few even swipes here with the iron, and we'll take a look and see just how these things end up. Now this first time around, because spoiler alert, we're going to do this more than once, I ended up having the setting for the iron, I guess, on like too high, so there was a lot of steam that was coming out, so it actually kind of moistured the cards, which is why it kind of looks like this. On the left, you'll see the actual, untouched card, and the right is the one that I ironed. It's, a little bit more flat, but it took some wear and tear from the steam. So we'll try it again here on a much lower setting and iron 2 of the cards left over this time around. And we'll even do a, mix and match of horizontal, vertical, or diagonal, etc. here, and take a look at what these end up like. And, in the card, they look, or with the card inside, I should say, they look alright. If I take them out of the card, the one on the left is the one from the pack, and the right are the ones that I ironed. And, it looks better, I guess. So let's go ahead and switch to this sort of view from here from the side, and you can kind of see the one on the left is the one from the pack, and then the first one is the first one I ironed, and then the second 2 are the ones that I ironed after that. Alright, so it's been a couple of days later. We started this video on a Sunday. It is now a Wednesday morning, so the cards have had about, or the sleeves have had about 3 to 4-ish almost days of whatever method it was that they were in. So for comparison, again, here is the sleeves in the pack that I've done nothing with. Here is how bent they look, right? So this is our baseline. This is what we're trying to flatten out. We'll start off with these that were in the deck box. So these were just put into the deck box with these silicone packets here to just try and draw out any moisture and see if that works for them. And we have a couple of different variations here. Let's see how these turned out. So starting off first, we have 3 of just nothing. So these are just sleeves that I did nothing to, and honestly they look almost more curved than they were originally, or they're about exactly the same, to be honest. So doing nothing to the sleeves clearly doesn't flatten out the sleeves. Who would have known? All right, and then we have ourselves here 3 variations with no cards inside, I believe. So let's see. So this is Dragon Shield. Oh no, we have 3 of each. That's right. This one is Junior. This is Junior. This is Broccoli. This is Broccoli, and then this one should be another Yaman Junior. So we'll put these 3 on the side here, and we'll start with our first one here, which is the Dragon Shield. So likewise, it doesn't look like just putting them in a Dragon Shield sleeves really does anything for the sleeve. It is about the same curvature as it was before, maybe slightly less, so there is a slight improvement here. So let's see what happens when I take it out of the sleeve here. So if we compare this to this, yeah, I guess there is a slight bit of difference. So this one here is the original. This is the one that was in the outer sleeve, and it, you know, it fixed it a tiny bit, but not enough where I would be convinced, like, after a few days, this would have actually, like a few extra days or something like that, this would have actually made a huge difference. And I'm pretty sure these other sleeves here are generally, yeah, it's generally the same thing, right? So putting Dragon Shield outer sleeves on bent sleeves does not work either. Next up, we have ourselves the one that I knew wasn't going to work out. So this is going to be the Broccoli, right? So right off the top, the Broccoli actually looks better than the Dragon Shield. So here's the Dragon Shield for comparison. Looks a tiny bit better. I'm not gonna lie, it's better than I thought, because this was the one that I originally used on my deck, and it started to curve. But it did flatten out the sleeves a tiny bit more than the Dragon Shield, but still not enough where I would consider this an effective method, to be honest. We'll even take a look at a second one here, and yeah, it's still curved. It's better, but not fixed. So definitely would not use that alone to try and flatten out these sleeves. Then last of this bunch, we've got ourselves no card inside, but the Yaman Jr., the thick sleeve on the outside here. So if we take a look at it from just itself, right, we can see here these look pretty straight. Of course, you can see some curvature between either the inner sleeve or the outer sleeve. It's a little hard to tell, but it is definitely a lot more straight than this regular sleeve, right? So we might have a winner here, but let's see what happens when I take it out of the sleeve. Take it out of the sleeve, and yeah, it's still got a little bit of a curve to it, honestly, but I feel like this might not be so bad, right? So if I were to take a card and put this in, I mean, I don't know, looking at it more now, maybe it's still not enough, but if I were to put a card into this, yeah, there's still some space here that I don't like, which tells me that it's still a little too curved. So this is definitely the best out of the 3. I will say that. I don't know if I can give it a guaranteed pass though, because I feel like it is still a little bit too bent for my liking, but it definitely did a good number on the sleeve itself. Yeah, so better, but not fixed. So maybe with the card inside, it had the little extra rigidness to make that happen. So this section here is going to be stuff with the card inside. So we've got just the card inside. We have card inside, but Dragon Shield, or this is specifically Yaman Jr. actually. So then this is card inside Broccoli, and then card inside Dragon Shield here. So we'll start here with the card inside by itself. So this is only the card, no outer sleeve, nothing else here. So we'll take a look here. And you know, that's pretty convincing. It's better than when I put the Yaoman Jr. one and I took it out, right? And I put that card inside. It looks better here. So let's see what happens when I take the card out of it. Here, take a look. That's pretty decent, not gonna lie. It still has this like curvature here because it's really the sides that I'm looking at, because that's really what it just spikes up like crazy. But in comparison to the original, well, maybe not. I mean, it's definitely better, but it's still got way too much of a curve, like way too much. Like it's nowhere near a straight line per se, but I don't know, it's definitely better, I would say. I think it's about tied with the Yaoman Jr., right? Yeah, this one's about the same also. So this is like fine. It's almost there, not enough. Maybe between the Yaoman Jr. and this, with more time, maybe it would be good, but I don't know. I don't feel like giving it any more time would give me much more results, but who really knows. So this here is going to be the Dragon Shield, right? So this is Dragon Shield with a card inside and Dragon Shield outside. So looking up here at the cross section, almost looks okay, except you can tell like there is still some gap in between. So the gap from the outer sleeve would be caused by the inner sleeve curving, which creates that sort of gap. But let's see what we've got here when we take a look at the sleeve by itself. So that's actually not half bad, but it's kind of around the same ballpark as I think the other two, to be honest. So you can see here, right, it doesn't just automatically sit on the baseline sleeve, so it's definitely less curved, but it still has some curve to it. But honestly, it is definitely a lot better. I guess if I put in another card inside, not that it should make a difference technically, but if I put a brand new card inside here, yeah, it still has this like gap here a bit, which is okay because it still has a slight curve to it. So I think this is decent, but it still has this tight curve on the sides. So it might just be that this specific sleeve pack that I have is just, you know, too much. Like, I don't know what it was. Sock is too thick or whatever it is, but the side just curved like crazy. This is about the same as the other one, right? So card with Dragon Shield inside is basically, I want to say it's about the same as a Yaoman Jr. with no card and just flat out a card, right? So those are like decent, but like they're almost passable, right? That I could almost argue if you give it a little more time, maybe they'll make it. But sorry, this is the Broccoli before I take it out. So the Broccoli did fare better than the Dragon Shield with no card inside. With a card inside, it looks somewhat about the same. We'll see here. We'll take the sleeve off and then take the card out of the sleeve. And yeah, it's generally, I think, the same affair, to be honest. Again, it doesn't like instantly match up. Ooh, maybe it does. Well, not really. It doesn't instantly match up with the base sleeve, but this one actually feels more curved than the other ones. Especially by the fact that I can just leave it by itself, right? Because it's so curved that it's able to stand itself up. That tells me that this did not work out. So that's a bit unfortunate. Broccoli actually did worse than Dragon Shield if you put a card inside, which makes sense because I mean that's basically what was happening to me, right? I was seeing what seemed to be like the card curving, but it was just like the entire card or sleeve within the outer sleeve and everything curving. Yeah, and this version is about the same. Doesn't stand. Oh, it does. So I guess we have a new test that we can do. We can do a stand test, see how they stand. Let's see, if I take this fella, does he just instantly stand? No. This one maybe is too curved. No, okay, yeah, it does stand. All right. So yeah, Broccoli with card inside. Gonna get a fail for me, which is not too surprising, to be honest. Let's put these down here. And the last one, which I kind of have some hopes for, is Yaoman Jr., but a card inside. So once again, these were not weighted or anything. I keep jumping the gun, sorry. These are not weighted or anything. They were just in a deck box with some silicone packets to maybe help the process, but it was just really up to the sleeve and the card to do any work. So looking here at the cross section is looking pretty good, honestly. Pretty convincing. Let's go ahead and take out the outer sleeve and then take out this card. And yeah, I mean, that looks about the same as like the other ones that were in that plausible deniability stage. It doesn't exactly match up here with the base sleeve. It looks okay, but it still definitely has a curvature to it. It's better, but not 100%, right? It's not a complete fix is what I'm trying to get at. Let's take a look at just a second one here. See if we have about the same. This one looks, to be honest, a little flatter, but no, it's about the same. It's just really the sides of this certain set of sleeves are just really curved up. Right? It's not even so much about the middle of the sleeve that's curved up. It's just the edges of it that just curve up like crazy. All right, so that does it for all the ones that were just sitting by themselves. No pressure or anything on them. So let's now jump over to the ones that actually had the books and the weights on top of them. So starting off, we have ourselves just the sleeves by themselves and the weight. Surprisingly, the weight in the books had zero effect on these. So if you just do it with just the sleeves by itself, it does nothing. Which makes sense because I originally, when I was trying to use these sleeves, I did do this. I did put in a bunch of, take a bunch of sleeves, lay them flat, put those books on them. You could argue maybe the books aren't heavy enough or whatever the case may be. I feel like that was impressive enough, I think, right? Like I think that would qualify as heavy, including the weights, but it just did not do anything to the baseline sleeve. Then we got ourselves the next set here with the oversleeve, but plus the weight, right? So this is going to be here the Dragon Shield version. It still has a bit of a curve to it, unfortunately. So without the sleeve, I'm sorry, without the card inside, but it seems decent, right? So if I were to take this and compare it to Dragon Shield with no card inside, it's slightly better. It is slightly better, right? It is slightly better, but nothing too crazy, I would say. It's better than the Dragon Shield with no card inside, but it is not better than the Dragon Shield with a card inside, if that makes sense. So we're gonna give this one a fail also. I figure it might be the same for all of these except for the Yaman Jr. Yaman Jr. might give us some impressive results. We'll see. The next one here, yeah, the other Dragon Shield one is basically the same thing, right? So put these on the side. Then let's go ahead and take a look here at our broccoli. I keep jumping the gun and taking the sleeve out. This is our broccoli. It doesn't look like it really did much either here. So yeah, it's about the same. I feel like it's about the same. It's, I don't know, it's almost passable, but not really. It's about the same as the Dragon Shield, so we're gonna have to give the broccoli here a pass. It's definitely less of a sharp curve, but I can still feel like this is really curved here on the sides. So yeah, broccoli with no sleeve and weight gets a fail from me. It's gonna be a no for me, dog. And then finally, the last one with no card inside is going to be the Yaman Jr., who I assume basically acts like a card in itself, considering how thick it is. And it seems okay. We do have a little bit of a bump here and whatnot. Let's see how that translates. Once we remove the sleeve, and that is, yeah, it's about the same as the other ones, to be honest. Doesn't seem to be much of an improvement over any of the other ones we've seen so far. So that's looking like yet another fail here. We'll take a look here. Yeah, not much can be said about this. All right. So all of the ones that have no cards inside but with weight get a fail from me. Then we got ourselves the last batch here, which has the cards themselves inside as an extra sort of way to give them some shape. So let's see here. So we've got ourselves the card with weight no outer sleeve. Looks really impressive. Honestly, I should probably look at it from this side. Yeah, looks pretty impressive to me, but we'll see how this works. So take it out of the sleeve, and unfortunately it just goes back to its old ways. Yeah, so looked pretty impressive on the outset, but it's almost plausible, but not really. I'm gonna have to give this a fail. So just putting a card in some sleeves and putting weight on it is not enough. Again, you can argue maybe we need more weight. I had a total of so it's whatever the book weighs, right, plus a set of weights on each book, somewhat distributed evenly. So there was at least, I want to say, almost 10 pounds on each weight extra. Guess that's not enough. Then we got our next two here. These are actually the Yao Ming Jr. Let's do these in order. So we got ourselves here the Dragon Shield. I can tell just because Dragon Shield has like a longer sleeve than the Broccoli. So let's take a look here again. Looks pretty impressive. This is the Dragon Shield with a card inside and also a weight. I mean, it fails the standing test, if that's any actual valid indication. But it doesn't look so bad. So we take the baseline here. You know, it looks definitely better. This definitely falls under plausible. To me, looks pretty solid. And if I put a new card inside, you know, it looks all right. So yeah, I'd have to give this one plausible, to be honest. Not half bad, not half bad. Let's put the little kitty back inside here. There we go. And let's take a look at the second one just to make sure, you know, it's not any better or worse. And it's about the same. All right. So we'll give Dragon Shield with card inside in weight. We'll make that one plausible, where it's maybe with more weight, more time, maybe it'll actually flatten out the sleeve, possibly. But with given the time I gave it and whatnot, it's definitely not the point where I'm 100% convinced. This is going to be Broccoli with the weight and cards inside. You can still see a bit of curve on the outer sleeve, which would indicate that the inner sleeve is still curved. But let's see what happens when we take out the card, and it's about the same. I think it's a little worse than the Dragon Shield. Honestly, it's a little bit worse than the Dragon Shield. Here, it's not as bad as it was. So I'll give this one a fail, I guess. I feel like the Dragon Shield was a little less curved. I might be wrong. I might just be seeing it differently. I don't know. Yeah, like that one looks a little better. Like maybe it's not a fail. Maybe it is plausible. I don't know. I feel like the sides curved more for the Dragon Shield, but yeah, I'll give it a fail preemptively. And then we got our last one here, which is gonna be the Yao Ming Jr. with a card inside and some weight. So looking all right. So I guess one caveat with these is that these are used Yao Ming Jr. sleeves, so they might not be as crazy rigid as they might have been originally, but this looks pretty plausible. It still has a curve to it because just these sides are just too much for these sleeves. I don't know what it is. I feel like I have to like specifically do something where it's like only on the sides or something like that, or like, yeah, because specifically like this crease here or something, like, not that they have an actual crease, but it's just specifically the edges that are insanely curved. But this looks almost plausible, except the edges are way too sharp, right? So this is either Dragon Shield level on, you know, that we had just now, or Broccoli level. You guys can decide, but it's definitely not a like complete pass for me, which kind of means none of these methods really worked. Granted, again, I did this Sunday morning, so they had all of Sunday, they had all of Monday, they had all of Tuesday, so they had 3 days. Maybe they could have used an extra day. I don't think a singular day would have made that much of a difference. If I did it entire extra like 4 days, right? Like 8 days or something like that, perhaps, but I don't feel like that would have been... that feels like way too much, first of all. I feel like you shouldn't need that much time to get an actual effective method out of this. And two, I don't feel like just looking at these, like that would have made that much of more of a difference. So yeah, I guess in summation, we'll start with here. The doing nothing with just the sleeve itself fails. Dragon Shield with just the outer sleeve, no card, fail. Broccoli with just the outer sleeve, no card, fail. And Yaoman Jr. with just the outer sleeve, I think was almost plausible, but ultimately it did not completely unbend the sleeve. Then 4, doing nothing, so just no weight. We've got the just putting a card inside. I believe this was maybe plausible. I believe these were all plausible, right? The Dragon Shield was surprisingly plausible with a card inside. I think the Broccoli was the only one that kind of failed with a card inside. And then the Yaoman Jr. with a card inside was relatively plausible, I believe. If you put weight on the sleeve with no card inside, nothing will happen. It'll remain the same, so that's a fail. If you do this with the Dragon Shield, that's a Broccoli. Dragon Shield is, that's Yaoman, that's Yaoman. So one of these is this one. There we go. I was looking at the bottom side. Oh, it's upside down. That's what's happening. The one that threw me off. Yeah, sorry. So Dragon Shield with no card inside of it. If you put weights on top of it over a series of few days, I think was plausible. No, I think it was the one with the cards. I think these failed. Then if you take Broccoli, weight but no card inside, just the outer sleeve and the inner sleeve, fail. And Yaoman Jr. I think was almost plausible, no card inside, but ultimately did not flatten the sleeve in its entirety. And then the last pair that we have, or group I should say, is just using the card inside but flattening, was almost plausible. Doing the Dragon Shield with a card inside and the weight was plausible, but did not flatten out the sleeve completely. Broccoli, in my opinion, failed if you put the card inside and the weight. And finally, Yaoman Jr. was, I think, almost plausible, or maybe not, if you put a card inside, but ultimately it did not completely flatten out the sleeve as I wanted it. But it's possible that any of these methods, if you add more weight or something and give it more time, they might make the sleeves more flat. Whether or not it's possible to completely flatten out the sleeve is another question. To be honest, the one that had, I think, the most effect was the iron, right? It really did. It really made it as flat as I've seen so far. However, it came with the caveat that it completely ruined some of these sleeves. So this is one of the ones, right? It got all warped and the like this part of the sleeve got all wrinkly and messed up, which maybe I can iron that out, I don't know. But it ruined 2 of them. But this one, it made it really flat. Honestly, this is as flat as it's been, which is why I was so skeptical and harsh on the other ones. So maybe ironing it is the way to go, right? Maybe with a better iron, better towel distribution or something. Maybe if you just take, like maybe if I had just taken all the sleeves, right, and just pressed on the sides with the iron really quickly, that alone would have been enough. And that would cause minimal damage to like this or something like that. Especially make sure like the steam is off. That might be the best method, honestly. I'll have to give that a shot some other day. I'll let you guys know if I do. But yeah, the only one that's really gonna get a pass for me, bro, is gonna be ironing your sleeves in a way that doesn't make them melt or get warped. But I guess that'll do it for me in this video here. Hope that was somewhat helpful. Do not iron your sleeves. You know, you might end up ruining them. Use that information cautiously. I would say use one of the weighted with cards inside and sleeve, outer sleeve combinations for your less extreme cases. I had a super extreme case, right? I feel like, so that's why it didn't work for me. But In any case, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave, whatever your thoughts are in the comments below. And until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Play Vanguard or whatever card game you'd like. And have yourselves a damn good one.